Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, bells, whistles, Wi-Fi, and 50-yard line watch at Jones Stadium. Also, could you be a better team in year two under Joey McGuire than year one without it being reflected in the record? We get to it next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to see you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you always for making us your first listen every day on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Also available on the Sirius XM app, SXM, in the App Store. And subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already so you never miss an episode. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more by visiting FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. The only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, and Chris, we are getting started this week, getting started on today's episode with something to feel really good about, something I love, and something that college sports actually gives most fans a great opportunity to do. Spend other people's money. And there was some good news coming across the bow just a couple of days ago for Texas Tech football. Joey McGuire and the gang supported wholeheartedly in many ways, and more commitments being made as we see some things come across as it relates to Jones Stadium improvements. Chris, some of these we touched on the last 7 to 10 days as possibly being things we'd see come across, but we'll recap some of that and get to some others that now, as they put pen to paper, will be happening at Jones Stadium. Some sooner rather than later, but all very excited fans, particularly, I know.
Yeah, so what you had, Cowan, was that late last week you had this Board of Regents meeting. There were some new regents inducted, or I guess that's the right term. But part of the proceedings is that in the open session, they had various additions to the South End Zone project that were approved. I don't know exactly dollar breakdown here. I just know that total project is now on the north side of $250 million. And what was added are things that you, me, anybody in or in the city of that stadium should be excited about, because it involves your cell phone working better, not worse. Because we've all been in this stadium and you can't send a text, you can't get a text, you can't make a call. This is AT&T Stadium, for goodness sakes, and it's just, but this is just it's been an expensive attempt to fix it, and it's not an easy fix. There's various things that I don't really grasp. I've kind of heard some explanations about it, but I think, look, and the main thing about the Wi-Fi, honestly, is that, yeah, we all want our phones to work, but the main thing you're trying to do, Cowan, is you're trying to keep those college kids there. Or showing up, because if I can't get my social media stuff working, if I can't text my buddy, if my phone just won't work and shut down, man, I'm out. I'm just like, man, I'll just watch it at home or go to the bar so I can do my thing, or I can follow the scores on the other games, or whatever you've got going. Right. So improved Wi-Fi is an amenity that is just, you're trying to keep young people there and pleased and appeased and give them a reason to show up to the games. But, I can't tell you how many times that I literally can't get a text out, and I'm standing there on the field, and you just can't, and it doesn't matter if it's
I would think that's even worse, down on the field than us possibly. Up at the top.
Yeah, possibly. Absolutely. Because you've got –
It's so funny to think about that. That's even a deal on the list. But you're exactly right. People are fleeing stadiums in droves. Everybody's in a fight. And this is one of those things on the list that I guess now – maybe appease is the right word. You use that one. I think that's on the money.
Yeah. Because and so one of the other things that they approved, and this won't necessarily be cheap, but all the stuff we're talking about here, I believe, is set for the 24 season. So none of this is the immediate. So when they really start to dig in here, they're really gonna, have ended up redoing so much of the entire stadium and the technical part of it, if you will. Turf this year, lights this year. We've talked about the new updated Wi-Fi system and everything. Also, with that they've approved is replacing and updating. Key word there is the video board on the south end, where you currently have the big video board. They will replace that, update it. These things get out. It's like TVs, man. You go to Best Buy, and it's like if you buy a new TV every couple of years, it's like you have to go relearn everything that a TV will do for you. It's like, well, this one right here, these days, man, you can go get 5K and it'll make you popcorn. Well, and this one is curved and it does all these kinds of things. I mean, it's like, geez, man, I just want a TV. I won't be able to turn it on and flip the channels and the remote controller. But
dude, I just installed the new TV yesterday. It made me give a blood sample, send in my social security number, and the NSA already cut me off because my social credit score is too low. It's a deal.
There you go.
It's a process.
It's a smart TV, right? Yeah, it's a smart TV.
Incredible.
And it's like, why is this one $3,000 and this one's $250 and they look exactly the same? Like, explain that to me. Anyway, the technology with the video board part of it changes quickly. Yeah. What happens is that it changes so quickly that you have a hard time with the maintenance of things because it's like, we don't make that model anymore, or they don't. This brand went out of business, and so that's just the way it goes. To the fan, the fun part is, I believe that structure, okay, on the north end of the stadium. Currently, it's got the video board in the center, and then on the sides of it are these speaker panels. I believe this is accurate, that the whole structure will be video board when they update it. And so I don't know if speakers go elsewhere or outside of that, or if they'll, I don't know, but I believe I was told that, hey, yeah, the video board will take up that whole structure now. And, but
and there are, Chris, do you have any idea on like the permanent ad space that's there also in that kind of screenish area?
Great question. And see, you can turn that into digital if you want. You can keep your ads there or whatever, and you can just make them digital if you want. You could do so many different things with those video boards. So I'm not real sure, I guess, but I just know updated, better, brighter. I think you'll when they install it next year, you'll hear about all that, about how much brighter it is and the resolution, all that stuff. Because again, the technology just changes so quickly. Well, the fun part about the fan is that one will be replaced, but you're also going to get 2 smaller video boards in the south end, and this was already approved and a part of this project. So there'll be 3 video boards total, and then you'll have the ribbon boards as well. So, and again, it's all about trying to appease the fan or enhance the fans, because we're going to LED light you, okay? We're going to blow your we're going to blow you out. We're going to play Motley Crue in the when the team runs out, and we're going to we're going to get after it. May even have a smoke machine. Your phone's going to work, so if you want to video it, you can do that too, and you want to send it out to all your buddies. But that's what it's all about, Is the and we're going to blow some stuff up too. I guarantee you, we need to enhance the pyro budget. Yeah.
Right, but somehow Roof Raider is a bridge too far. That's another episode. Yeah, if you got a fire fit on for the day and you can't put it on the internet in a photo, what the hell do you even go to the stadium for? We know what the ladies are thinking, and some of you daintier men out there. So you've got to appease these folks. But Chris, can I ask, just back to the video board really quickly? But first, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book and the official sports book of Locked On. Got the NBA playoffs going on, Major League Baseball, Tibetan tiddlywinks, or anything in between that's on your radar. FanDuel has got you covered. And right now, if you've never done it before, you're in luck, because it's a great time to be a new customer. You can get started with FanDuel right now by downloading the FanDuel app. Safe, secure, easy to use. Woo! First timers, when you get the app, you're going to immediately be eligible for a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to sign up now. Place your first bet and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So don't miss your chance to get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today by downloading the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com/locked on to sign up. With FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Chris, can I ask, just back to the video board really quickly, are we to, because we're like, what, a decade? How long has that been there? Was that 13 or 12 when that came online?
Yeah, I don't think that video board has been there for a decade. I think it's probably, oh man, I need to go see the.
It was Cliff's era, right?
Yeah, so it's probably been up there 5 to 8 years.
Holy
I mean,
cow,
I'm kind of.
Yeah, I was thinking 8, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, still relatively new structurally. Am I to believe, because this is part of what just kind of blew my mind when you mentioned this, I think last week or maybe a week and a half ago, that a new video board will be inset within that structure. We're not like busting up mortar and masonry. Oh, okay.
Correct. That one
was kind of blowing my mind that, wow, we're already, which wouldn't be crazy. I mean, the Rangers are in a new ballpark, and that one, that was one of the first
25 years
experiences.
old.
Right. So I know we're in a different era for, hey, knock it down, build something else. But that may be a point of some confusion. I know it was for me, at least, that I was looking for some clarity on. So enhanced video board, you've got space to play with for a bigger video board within that video board structure. That's presently there over that.
And I don't want to talk in absolutes and tell you exactly dimensions and all those things. I just know,
right.
I was led to believe it would fill more of that space out, not less. So it would be bigger than your current board, and they were going to do something different with the speakers. But again, that's part of, because right now, and I'm down there in the middle of it, and it's like they've put. It was a big deal to Joey, okay, when he took over. And I get why, because I can, remember standing on the field in Waco and in Fort Worth and in Norman, and they have speakers at the field level and during the games and everything, and they put them in strategic places, and it's for warm-ups, but and you can feel your inside shake at some of these places. And at Texas Tech this past year, you could feel your inside shake. And if you kind of walk by it, you're like, this is gonna damage my inner ear right now. I mean, but you felt it creates the juice in the environment within the stadium. And so I don't know what they'll do. I think part of the new structure on the south end kind of will hold more of your sound in. Okay, it's going to be more of an enclosed, I think, kind of up higher, which could help the sound stay in there. But I'll be honest. I mean, when you go to Waco, it was the butt fumble game, and Matt Wells even said something to the official about how the music was being played when our quarterback was Jet Duffy at the time. It's like, man, our quarterback is under center and they're still playing the music, and you couldn't hear anything. And that's borderline against the rules. TCU does the same thing. Oklahoma speakers at field level during warmups will shake your insides. But that's just part of it. And I think you want to have the same thing. You want people to go, golly, man, their sound system works. And you can't worry about, sweet Miss Lisa and Johnny on the 35-yard line. They're like, man, I'm just not going to the games. It's too loud there. You can't, there's complaints about everything. You just can't, you gotta have some juice in an environment. And I think a new sound system will certainly do that. No offense to Lisa and Johnny, did I say? I don't know who those people are. That was just an example.
He's a veteran. He suffered hearing damage in the war, Chris. Dare you come down on Johnny. I'm really excited about all these toys. I hope they've got some awesome, unique way to use them. And it's not just back to Belinda. I was going to say Belinda Carlisle. That'd be better. Whoever the Kiss Me girl was. We've seen that many times. It took like 35 years to get off the Jock Jams playlist, which now, ironically, you may want to bring back into the mix, save for Gary Glitter, Predator. But I just hope we've got a good show to go with the loudspeaker and the big TV and the blinking lights and all of that stuff. So best of luck to everybody who's involved in that. And the video board thing on both ends. Go ahead.
Well, have I ever told you, I have to be careful here, have I ever told you Mike's idea way back in the day that he pitched to Gerald Myers?
No.
This is true. No. I'm going to try to keep this clean because it's, I'll let you determine how.
Hey,
Mike
we're on
phrased
YouTube,
this.
Bud. We're on YouTube.
Okay, I know, but I don't want to. He's like, this is back when the pirate thing kind of took off on a life of its own. Everybody's waving the pirate flags, all these things. But Mike was always, Coach Leach, he was always a big like Oakland Raider fan. Like he kind of thought that yeah. The patch on the eye and like the way their fans were just crazy. And you had the spiked up shoulder pads and everything like that. Like he kind of embraced that fandom, and he was a West Coast guy. So, but I think he at one point literally pitched to Coach Myers, and Coach Myers and his sweet wife, they listened to this podcast. And Coach Myers, I forgot to mention that the other day, Cowan. Coach Myers, an avid viewer of this podcast, so he won a big award at a banquet I was at the other day. So shout out to Coach Myers. But and if I was Coach Myers, whenever, yeah, there you go. And when Coach Myers, was probably pitched this idea, I probably would have been like, Mike, we just can't do that. But he's like, well, now what we need to do is we need to tie a zip line at the top of this double T scoreboard. And we need to tie it like across the field or we need to anchor it somewhere like where it kind of angles. And we need to put a little person on that zip line. And every time we score a touchdown, and they need to wave a pirate flag. And he goes, we can shoot some sparklers off of them and everything. And I mean, I can only imagine how Coach Myers probably reacted to such a pitch. But Mike, I think, was dead serious. He had all kinds of this was his like kind of Vince McMahon, P.T. Barnum, Oakland Raider fandom kind of coming into one. And his wild. He wanted the show, right? He wanted the show. He wanted the pomp and the circumstance.
Of course. And he was longtime RIP, a warrior against little people unemployment. So just trying to keep them busy, trying to keep them paid, and with the livelihood as well. So a lot went into that. Let's not shelf that idea, okay? Kirby Hocutt, you dialing into the show every once in a while. Coach Myers, I know you still got these phone numbers. Let's run this flag back up the pole. In memoriam, an in memoriam little person zip line. If anybody else is connecting those words in that order for these purposes anywhere in the world today, my socks will be blown off. You're getting one-of-a-kind conversation here on Locked On Texas Tech. I'm excited to see it all come to fruition. Of course, we got 50-yard line watch that's playing out this offseason. Let's see what they slap on that sucker. We all know what the right answer is, but what will the answer be? We'll find out in weeks and months to come. But Chris, I do get kind of blown away as well because I've gone so far down the rabbit hole online in the Southwest Collections image library, which is amazing if you're interested in the history of West Texas, Texas Tech, Lubbock, the South Plains, all these things. But I lose days thumbing through that catalog on my laptop. And of course, a lot of that includes Jones Stadium images, the old Tech Field, I think is what it was just called, images as well there. To the southeast, I guess, roughly where some practice fields are now. But my first trip to Jones Stadium, knee high to a grasshopper, guided by wonderful Red Raider grandparents who set me on this path long ago. And in that short amount of time, from 1984 to now, it blows me away to think about what that place is. I can't imagine those who have been on patrol as Red Raiders or Red Raider fans for much longer, you included. I mean, to see where that thing has come from. Hell, just back to the Mike Leach era. He built what is there now capacity-wise, no question, to where it is now. What a wild experience and what a luxury for all student athletes and fans of the program that will get to enjoy it and have gotten to enjoy it.
Yeah, because you're one of most stadiums, they hit an end zone or they hit one side, and like not everybody has been able to update all the way around. And once you're once your south end of your stadium is done, you will have renovated really in the last decade or so, Cowan. I guess it's decade plus, and maybe going back 15 years ago or even closer to 20. But you will have all the way around. You will have renovated it and made it to where it is finished. There's we don't need any more attention here. It doesn't need anything. But yeah, I mean, I think that look, the football coach aspect and Mike and everything like that kind of set the thing going, obviously with Spike beginning it and all that. And then obviously Mike, but credit to your administration and some of these regents, man. I mean, I don't think enough can be said about like what Kirby's obviously want to do, but like, Dusty and Cody and they're basically throwing their own money and like, this is important. Brick and mortar and like structure is important. We want this to be nice. We want it to be big. We want it to be the best, because this price tag for this thing is just going up and up and up. And I think some of these guys are funding a lot of this on their own,
right.
And it's not just them. I don't want anybody to not think there's a lot of donors here, but you had some lead gifts, man. And it's pretty cool to see people stepping up, because this stuff will be around here for a long, long time.
I've said for a long time, and some of this has to do with conference affiliation, television contracts, et cetera, but also enthusiasm, resource, and support among your fan base and your alums. I've just felt like for a considerable amount of time, you should be able to say as a Texas Tech fan that the Texas Tech athletics department or football program, whatever it might be, is as advantaged as it has ever been with every subsequent day. Like, today's the best it's ever been. Tomorrow will be better than today. And some programs who have, had that advantage from very early on, Chris, don't get that same type of experience. But even though there's 100 at the gateway, the number 100 at the gateway of Texas Tech's campus right now, signifying a long amount of time, you still look at some others, and not that you're in an infancy or anything like that, but 25 to 30 years behind some of those who have been exercising that advantage. It's fun to see what's happened in the first 100 years, and can't wait for I don't know, maybe they're just next 5, next 10, because where's Joey McGuire's going to take us when we win that natty? Time will only tell. Speaking of winning, actual football being played, what's going to happen inside that awesome stadium? Let's get to this to wrap up today's episode. We got some Big 12 win totals I want to throw at you. You might have seen them by now. We'll get to Texas Tech's, and also a question as to the tone of the season. Success, failure, or somewhere in between as it relates to this number early on we're seeing for Tech, 7.5. We'll get to that and more coming up next as we wrap it up on Locked On Texas Tech. Glad to have you along for the ride on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network with Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan, coming at you from west of the 100th Meridian, where it's really going down. Thanks to those of you out there every day along for the ride on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Appreciate you so much. And wrapping up today's episode as we consider some actual on-field possibilities for Texas Tech and company in 2023. And Chris, we saw elsewhere around the Big 12 some numbers applied here, over under for a win total. This projection among many that will roll out obviously this offseason, but one of the first to consider. Texas Tech 7.5 is the number for the Red Raiders. That is number 4 conference. Longhorns at 9.5, Oklahoma 9.5, K-State 8.5, and then you actually have Tech, Texas Christian, Baylor, and Central Florida all right there at 7.5 wins. Chris, we can, of course, I love to hem-haw, and we'll spend plenty of time this offseason hem-hawing about, what the schedule feels like, where you could have some pitfalls, where you could find some success. But I think you and I have talked about this on the air. I know I've talked about it with other Red Raider friends. There's some thought I want to pick your brain on first, just about, in general, feeling like you might have a record that is identical to what you had last season's. Is it one win less than what you had last season? I don't know. But you may be a better football team with a record that doesn't just blow you away and show that you're a better football team than what you were a season ago. I'm guessing you've probably heard that thought as well. I think we've maybe discussed it a little bit here on this show, but that's one of the interesting things about heading into the season. We're like, yeah, build off what you did. It was awesome last year. You wind up 8-5. So why not 9-3 or something wild? But I almost feel like, yeah, there could be improvement there, but I'm not so sure if you just see it translate into something marked improvement-wise with the record. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think, and why your 8 wins last year felt different is because it included wins over Oklahoma and Texas, there's different 8 and 5s. They feel different. Yours was 4 and 5 that, turned into 8 and 5, and you won 4 in a row and you finished it right. And so you view it differently and all those things. But like, for example, so much of odds to win the conference race, win totals, we're starting to see a lot of these lists and things like that come out right now about the league race this next year. Unlike any other previous year, though, you have to don't forget to remind yourself anytime you see these things, there is a giant caveat with it. And the reason, the caveat is this, and it's not been this way since 10, 12, 15 years. It's some of this is based on who you play and who you don't. Okay. Right. For example, I don't know if Oklahoma is going to be any better than they were last year. I bet their record is, though, because they have one of the weakest schedules in the Big 12 Conference on paper, based on what we think we know about some of these teams. And I think Oklahoma State, I don't think they're going to be better. They may have a better record because they don't play Tech, Baylor, Texas maybe, and then TCU. I think. I mean, they missed like a core group. I'd have to go back and look to be sure. But and like where the Red Raiders, they don't see either one of the Oklahoma schools, but you do see Kansas State, you do see Texas, you do see Baylor, you do see TCU. Some of the ones that are projected to be at the upper tier, and so I think that factors in odds on winning the conference title. That factors in over/under win totals. I mean, Oklahoma, what did you tell me, is 9.5? I mean, I don't. They're not a preseason top 25 team in some of the polls that I've looked at. Texas Tech is, okay, but these are different things, and some of this is going to be about who you played versus who you didn't, and you have to remember that Tech's schedule or Tech's win total and Tech's outlook to me will totally change one way or the other on that Oregon game. Just like last year, if you would have won the NC State game and then did everything else you were supposed to, it just kind of changes the whole outlook and dynamic when you win that key non-conference game versus if you lose it. Right. And so if you go 2-0 to start out your season, I think, boy, you can dare to dream a little bit, and maybe even with hopes on, I wonder when those playoff games are. I wonder when the Big 12 title game is. I mean, you will have given yourself a chance and a ranking and all that to kind of go with it. Whereas, again, you're not out of it. If you go 0-2, you're not out of it. You're out of the national championship race, but not the league. But that Oregon game, it's just going to swing you one way or the other. But, I mean, that Wyoming game is it's no gimme at all because it's a road game and it's a true road game. But I see what you're saying, Calvin. I see the point that people are making in that you could be really good and the record may not necessarily reflect it.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say if you're 4-8, well, you're a really good team. The record just didn't show it. What we're talking about here is a minuscule difference. And basically, just like I said, you could be 7-5 again and be a better team. People are like, well, I mean, weren't we going to make this huge step? We're 7-5. What happened? You could play better football and wind up in a similar win total realm. And it is because, Chris, I think you've got one of the more difficult schedules, even with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State off of it, that you've had in some time. I was curious how you felt about that. It's hard to kind of reconcile those thoughts again with the Sooners and the Cowboys not going to be on that schedule. Well, how could it be all that difficult? But I just look at some of these months, and some of it has to do with the fact you got a huge one in the non-conference, which is a little bit atypical as far as Oregon is concerned. But then you've got that pesky road trip to Morgantown, and you've got Houston coming back to Lubbock. That's all in the month of September. That ain't no tiptoeing through the tulips time, as you might expect sometimes in September. You get to October, you're going to Waco, you're going to Provo, and you've got K-State coming to your house. Which one of those is the snooze fest? Then you get to November. Who have I not mentioned yet? The team that was in the national title game in Lubbock November 2nd, the Longhorns on the road in the season finale. And, oh, yeah, those pesky Jayhawks that made a little bit of noise last season, you got them on the road. Now, Central Florida comes to your house. I don't know what that's going to be like, but it kind of seems like in most years I'm used to saying, well, you know, here's the big month, or here's kind of the big transition period where either you're contender or pretender. But if you have success in any of these periods, it's contender time. There are typically ebbs and flows, and I know there will be some of that as these teams reveal themselves as to what they actually are. But I don't know, man. This feels pretty stout comparatively, even with some of those new members to some recent years.
I agree. I think on paper, you know, I think it would have been a good year to play Oklahoma State. I don't think they're going to be very good. I think Cincinnati's not going to be very good. You miss them. And so that's why your schedule, you know, is because, and I think there's a lot of thought. I think Houston could be a bit of a mess. We'll see. That's going to be a Donovan Smith deal. But I think that the thought is like BYU and Central Florida could make the most noise initially in the Big 12. You get both of them, you know, and so. But again, bring it on, man. I mean, this is why you have depth. This is why you want more than one quarterback. This is why you better be able to win games on the road. This is why some people are going to say, you know, Tech's not ready yet to make any noise because look at their schedule. Their schedule's tough. They haven't really done it yet. But you know, I think it'll be a lot of fun. You got to be careful about getting expectations out of whack because you're right. An 8 or 9 win season with this schedule and depending on how it looks, I mean, that could be a big, you know, a huge sign of progress. Having said that, you're going to have a lot of seniors on this team. And so you're going to graduate a lot from this particular group. So if you wanted to make some noise, this would be a good year to do it.
It is year 2 under your new head coach. I just felt like maybe I should say that out loud for some reason, man. Can't wait to get down to it, and plenty to get into this offseason to get that table set for Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders. All right, thank you guys for joining us so much once again to kick off another week here on Locked On Texas Tech. Hope to see you back here coming up tomorrow, particularly you, Chris. I'm going to need you for another episode, please. Enjoyed it as always, man. Thanks for the time.
Keep hope alive, everybody. We will do it. And looking forward to another week. And happy, May the 4th be with you. We had Cinco de Mayo. We've got, we're on the right side of the Kentucky Derby. But we're getting into the quieter times here as far as the summer. That must mean football season is getting closer. But enjoy it, Colin.
Hope Mama's on your mind this week. Heads up. Time is running out. Mother's Day just around the corner. So there's your Locked On Texas Tech calendar. Heads up. All right, for Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Thank you again to the everydayers out there. We'll see you back here tomorrow on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts on Locked On Texas Tech.